Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the FPL Addicts and Esports Live Fantasy Weekly Videocast on podcast. Before we start, though, as usual, I'm going to go through another Peely's puzzle. The answer to last week's, which I thought was the toughest one I'd ever done, was Jermaine Beckford. And the first two clues will be given now, and the next two midway through the podcast. So the first two clues: I'm the oldest player to ever score in a Premier League game at the age of 40 years and 268 days old, and I scored 11 goals in 51 games for my country. But as I say, welcome back. On the agenda today, we've got Liverpool win again, as the Egyptian King is back amongst the goals. Bruce's Mags, Elliot, snap an 11-game winless run in all competitions with an inspired performance away at Goodison Park, while Tottenham falter again as Brighton pick up 3 points at home for the first time in 2021. But as I said, alongside me as always is my right-hand man in the FPL Addicts and Esports Live commentary box. It is Elliot Craig. How are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. It's been a good week for me, both normal football and fantasy, so it might be a sign of good things to come, hopefully, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, I'm doing well, thank you, mate.
Yeah, that's awesome to see. Obviously, I watched the Newcastle game with you. Again, it's the 11th Newcastle game I've watched this season. I'm not a Newcastle fan, but I've watched 11 somehow, and that was the best of the lot by far. So it was buzzing to see that you were buzzing. We had a couple of guesses in our private chat, or a couple of comments rather. Matt saying Beckford was the last one. Yes, he was. Beckford was the last Peely's puzzle the last week, so well played there. And the incorrect guess of Ryan Giggs. So there's a quick hint. It's definitely not Ryan Giggs. He wasn't the oldest player to score in a Premier League game. But there you go. We're going to start, as usual, as we usually do, by bringing up the results from this week. And there's one that's going to stick out for Elliot. He's absolutely loving it at the moment, if we're being quite honest with you, which was the
early kickoff, mate.
The Newcastle game. If we can bring up the share screen. Back in the early kickoff. You never back the early kickoff, and that's what you show why.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of people would have backed Everton, but as they say, never, ever, ever back the early kickoff, and that's a lesson why right there. So Everton 0, Newcastle 2, a double from Callum Wilson, a great ball in from the corner for the first goal, which he nodded home with some aplomb, and then an awesome ball from Jamal Lewis, who hasn't been the greatest for Newcastle this season, but had a brilliant game at fullback for the Toon. He put a brilliant ball in. Callum Wilson did the rest. And Elliot, you must be buzzing, particularly Jordan Pickford in the Scat 11 team from last week had a poor game.
I said it last week, mate, didn't I? I said, you can't be trusting Jordan Pickford with a clean sheet in 2021. It's just not how it's going to work. But no, what a performance from Callum Wilson. Definitely the man of the match. Even if he hadn't scored, probably would have been my man of the match. His hold-up play was brilliant. One of the best striker performances I've seen in my life, which isn't much from a Newcastle fan. But no, it was brilliant performance all around, mate. So hopefully it's not just a one-off, and we can keep that up against Crystal Palace.
I mean, you say you haven't had much in your life. Outside of that incredible Bar and Cisse season, you've literally had like Obafemi Martins, Peter Lovenkrantz, Dwight Gale. You haven't had Hasselu missed a penalty 3 years ago today against Burnley. Popped up. But you've not really had much to pick from. But Callum Wilson looks like an absolute gem of a player. If we move on, Crystal Palace beat Wolves by 1-0. Eberechi Eze, the former QPR player, with yet another goal in the Premier League. And it's a big result for Palace, who get a win over Wolves, who have been faltering a little bit. Manchester City, I want to talk about this one, Elliot. 1-0 over Sheffield United, but Pep Roulette strikes again.
Oh, a lot of FPL managers were not happy with that, including myself. Stones and Cancelo bench was just evil by Pep. He must just have Diaz in his team, and he doesn't want people in his mini league with Stones and Cancelo getting above him or something. And he was like, I'm just going to drop him on the bench, and Diaz will get his clean sheet. Just takes him off his league. I'm sure that's what he was thinking, definitely. So he's a mastermind, Pep. He just doesn't like FPL at all, does he?
Not at all. But I mean, I brought in Diaz this week for Cancelo, so really happy that I avoided that one. And especially with the bench, we'll get onto it later. My FPL bench helps me in that regard there. But a good win for Manchester City nonetheless. The only goal of the game came early on. Gabriel Jesus with the only goal assisted by Ferran Torres, as the Citizens got another 3 points for their title charge. A 4-goal thriller, if you can call it that. 2-2 between West Brom and Fulham. It had 0-0 written all over it, but that's not how it turned out. The Ginger Javi, Harrison Reed, getting another assist as well. That was a great ball in for Ivan Caballero, who finished at the back post. Bobby Decoed over Reed, got the other goal, as Kyle Bartley scored again, and Mateus Pereira continued his good form. 4 goals at the Hawthorns, as the points were shared. Elliot, decent game.
Yeah, I was just praying it ended in a draw as a Newcastle fan. There was just goals flying and everywhere. It was difficult to keep up with, but No, it was an interesting one because, as you say, it has 0-0 written all over it. So I think it was a massive game for both teams in the relegation fight. And one of them had managed to get 3 points, you'd probably say, they'd have a much more of a fighting chance. I think both teams will obviously be really, really disappointed that one's ended in a draw more than most games this season for them. So it was an interesting one, definitely, mate.
I mean, I wasn't watching it. I was watching the Mighty Rovers get a 1-0 win over Luton Town, but by all reports, it was a decent game. Adam Armstrong, by the way, needs to keep away from the Premier League because he's doing absolute bits in the Championship, and there'll be a Premier League club probably swooping in. We're on deadline day as we record this, so hopefully no Premier League clubs have any ideas. The game that we thought would be a 0-0 this week was the West Brom and Fulham game, not Arsenal Man United, which turned out to be a 0-0 draw. It's another game between two massive sides that just hasn't turned up. I think it was the other week. Was it Manchester United, Manchester City was a little while ago was 0-0. Manchester United, Liverpool was 0-0 as well. Yep. So a couple of massive games that just aren't turning up. Aston Villa got a 1-0 win over Southampton, much needed. Ross Barkley with the only goal in that one. It's a massive result for Aston Villa, that one, Elliot.
Yeah, Southampton, probably you could argue they got robbed with the VAR decision at the end where Danny Ings had scored, but it's the game these days, unfortunately. It swings in roundabouts, it comes both ways, so they'll feel hard done by. But no, it was a brilliant 3 points from Villa after a disappointing loss earlier in the week, so they needed that definitely.
And we'll just go over these results quite quickly. A brilliant goal from Marcos Alonso helped Chelsea along their way to a 2-0 win over Burnley. Cesar Azpilicueta also got the other goal, so the Chelsea Spanish defenders getting on the score sheet for them. Leicester lost to Leeds 3-1. Surprising one. Stuart Dallas, Patrick Bamford, who, when I woke up this morning to see the results and Jack Harrison scored, but when I woke up this morning, I saw Bamford. My opponent did have Bamford, and I was a little bit worried that potentially I might well have lost my cup tie. We'll get onto that later. But Mohamed Salah, my captain choice, absolutely nailed it. I think, Elliot, you were in the same boat with Mohamed Salah. He scored twice. Craig Dawson also got me some much-needed FPL points. But Mohamed Salah, the Egyptian king, is back. Glad you captained him, Elliot, for sure.
Oh, 100%, mate. Honestly, it was this week. If you didn't captain Salah, I don't think you had the best of weeks to say. But no, I'm thrilled I've nailed my captain choice after 2 or 3 weeks without putting my faith in Bruno and whatnot in the past couple of weeks, and it just hasn't paid off. So I'm glad Salah with the big return there, the big 15-pointer from the Egyptian king.
And the final game, Brighton beat Spurs by a goal to nil. Tottenham Hotspur, Leandro Trossard with the only goal in that game. Pascal Gross with the assist as the South Coast side got all 3 points at home to Tottenham. We'll go through the fixtures for the next game week just quickly. The game week is game week 22, and the deadline is 4:30 p.m. on Tuesday night. Obviously, if you're living in the UK, over here though in Melbourne, 3:30 Wednesday morning. It starts the game week with Sheffield United hosting West Brom. At the same time, Wolves will host Arsenal. 7:15, Manchester United will host Southampton, and your side Newcastle will host Crystal Palace. Burnley will start Wednesday night against Manchester City. Fulham will host Leicester. Leeds will play Everton. Aston Villa will play West Ham. And Liverpool will host Brighton. And on Thursday night, Friday morning over here, massive game between two London rivals in Tottenham Hotspur and Chelsea. So just to go back to last week, we've got your game week review. We've got your shocks of the week, Elliot. We've got 3 from the last game week to talk about. Who are they?
Thank you, mate. Game week 21 has now ended, and with it brought a lot of shocking FPL results and scores. The highest score this week in the world being 120 points and the average being 48 points. But here are my top 3 shocks of the week. Firstly, we've got Chelsea defender Cesar Azpilicueta, who managed a goal, a clean sheet and 3 bonus in their 2-0 win over Burnley, giving him 15 points in game week 21. Secondly, we have his Spanish counterpart, with Marcos Alonso, who drove his chested down volley into the back of the net, making it 2-0 to Chelsea and earning his owners 14 points in game week 21. This came from a goal, a clean sheet and 2 bonus, and it kind of felt like we were back in 2017 with goals from Alonso and Azpilicueta, didn't it, mate?
Yeah, I think you remember. I scored one against. He scored one against Tottenham at Wembley, if I'm correct, and that was in a run of really good form for him, where he was just a must-have FPL asset. Since then, he's not really been that, but maybe with a goal here, maybe it might spark a run for him.
Definitely, mate. But for my third one, it definitely didn't feel like we were back in 2017, as it was Leeds striker Patrick Bamford, who was back amongst the goals for the Yorkshire side, he scored once, assisted twice, and earned 3 bonus points, giving his owners, including myself, 15 points in game week 21.
Brilliant stuff. A couple of Chelsea defenders in there, as you're saying. If we were back in 2017, you definitely wouldn't be including Patrick Bamford in your shocks of the week. But he's had a brilliant start to the season. He scored again, and he nearly knocked me out of the FPL Cup. But I'm through there. So now to introduce one of our guests for the week. The other one will be joining us a little bit later on. But we've got a bit of a phone in this time. He's not got his camera on, as Matt Day from FPL Addicts, the guru himself, but he's here with us nonetheless. Matt, how are you feeling, mate?
Yeah, thanks, Ollie. Look, I'm not feeling too good today. I'm pretty down about the Spurs result. There's a lot of disgruntled Tottenham fans at the moment after that result and a couple of other results recently. So, yeah, a little bit down about that. Losing at Brighton didn't even look like we were going to get a goal. Well, we didn't get a goal, but it didn't even look like we could win that game today. It was pretty poor all round. So yeah, not too good. Yeah, so hopefully we can bounce back against Chelsea, but yeah, not too sure at the moment on Spurs and our form. So
there you go. It was a bit of a surprising one, but yeah, once again, Jose Mourinho, I think it's the third time he's lost at Brighton away in a row now. Twice with Manchester United and once with Tottenham. It's the first time he's ever lost away at the same opponent 3 times in a row in his career, I think I heard on commentary. So that was quite an interesting stat, and one that Jose will want to eradicate before his next visit to the Amex. So we'll start our game week review, though. We'll go through our teams at the moment. We'll start with mine. We've got a decent score here, and I've got really lucky because the wild card I made the other week set me up. because I needed 2 automatic substitutions, and they contributed 9 points between them after Cancelo was dropped and also Stones was dropped and Tyrick Mitchell was also benched. So Dawson came on, his goal helped out with 7 points there. Obviously, I had Ruben Diaz on already, so that Manchester City defence still working well in the absence of John Stones. Ryan Brewster also came on for 2 points, but the talking point really has to be Mohamed Salah. Brilliant he was. 30 points he got as my captain. Obviously, he's been out of form recently, but I just had an inkling that he would do something this game, and he did. Obviously, Mohamed Salah, if you don't have him, maybe he might be coming into a bit of form now, so maybe one you might want to bring in. 2 goals for 10 points, got the 3 bonus, and obviously the 2 for playing minutes. So I'll take that. The other transfer I had was Harvey Barnes, or one of the transfers I had, rather, was Harvey Barnes. He had a goal as well, even though his side lost, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin was a bit frustrating as he blanked. But overall, 72 points minus the 4 takes me to 68. Game week rank is just inside the 700,000. And I've taken green arrows up to 131. So decent green arrows there. I don't mind that whatsoever. We'll move on to Elliot, who has had a pretty poor week, I think, by all standards. Better than... Oh, no, he hasn't. That was last week. He's had a very, very good week.
Yeah,
he's had a very good week.
I was going to say, mate, I don't think I did this week.
No, that was last week. Elliot, we'll let you start this off. You've been amazing this week, my word.
Yeah, mate. 82 points this week. So as you said, not that good.
No, not at all.
A lot of the big hitters in there. Salah as the captain. Just as soon as I woke up this morning, saw he'd scored, I was like, it's not going to be a bad week for me at all then, is it? Maddison with the assist to your boy Harvey Barnes, so we sort of both helped each other out a little bit there. Stewie Dallas with a goal. He was playing midfield again, so he's turning into a little bit of a John Lundstrom, I'd like to say, to be honest. He's, down as a defender in the game, but goal scoring central midfielder at the minute, Stuart Dallas, which isn't too bad. Obviously, Man City with the clean sheet. Could say that every week at the minute, couldn't we? Leno with the clean sheet against Man United. Frustrating for Jack, I'm sure, but I'll take the clean sheet for me. And then Bamford, what more can you want from him? He's been out of form for a few weeks, comes back firing, goal, 2 assists, cannot ask for more. And green arrows right back up the mini league. Good week from me, mate.
Well, I mean, there's one thing you might want more from Patrick Bamford. He had a great game, but you wouldn't want the injury cloud over his head.
No, that's a little bit of a worry for me, mate, because I've just got Harry Kane out. I didn't get Bamford in. I got Calvert-Lewin in, but I'm hoping he's going to be all right. But I've got a free transfer and I've got money in the bank if needed. But I'd rather not move off onto him now, considering the form that he's going to hopefully get himself into. But it was like 75% chance of him playing. I can't remember what the issue seemed to be, but
he's in his own team. He said, didn't he? He said he was in his own fantasy team and he's going to be fine to play. So
I think I heard that actually. That's elite from Patrick Bamford. That's elite.
Yeah. So he said he's feeling all right. He's in his own fantasy team. He's just a little bit upset that he didn't captain himself yesterday. So yeah, expect him to play. I think this week and potentially score against Everton after that. They'll be a bit deflated after losing to Newcastle. So that's really destroyed a lot of managers this weekend. I think that Bamford and Dallas score, they did everything I didn't want him to do. So yeah, you've done well there, Elliot.
Yeah, well, if he's got himself in his own team, maybe he should think twice before squaring it to Jack Harrison instead of shooting himself. To be honest, I think if he kicking himself about that, could have got the extra point. But I'll take the goal and the 2 assists from Bamford. Don't mind that at all.
Yeah, that's always good to hear that he's got himself in his own FPL team and he's playing himself. Just to go back to myself just quickly, I forgot to mention that I did mention that I progressed in the FPL Cup, and I'd done so. Obviously, this guy did have Bamford in, the guy I'm playing, but I won by 14 points. Both of us took hits. He got rid of Callum Wilson. I think he went from Wilson to Bamford. So, potentially, it's probably a good transfer, to be fair, that he's gone to Bamford. But he captained Ilkay Gundogan, your man, Matt. So on that tandem, we'll move over to your team. I don't think you did captain Gundogan this week, did you? And
I did, mate. I had.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I think it was the. I didn't have the best week. I think the captain choice was. I've gone back to those poor captain choices now. That's a couple in a row. There was the Fernandes one last week, but I could kind of get away with it. And then this week, not having Salah's probably cost me a few extra points. So I did go Gundogan. My man's let me down there, but is what it is. We move on. A few players really let me down. Obviously, Brewster's, what's he doing in there? He's come off. I kept Kane. So what I did is I kept Kane. I didn't take him out because I was just a little bit skeptical. I wanted to wait for the news. And now I've kind of heard he's going to be out until the Man City game is what they're saying. So I kept Kane. I put Son in. Son was pretty woeful this morning. So, pretty poor all round. Martinez was a highlight. Diaz. And Salah, but that's it. The rest of my team was quite flat and quite poor. So disappointing game week, but I'm still I'm confident with this team going into the next game week. I think I've got some better fixtures now. So I think the aim's going to be replacing Kane. It's just about who to bring in. Elliot will be quite happy. I'm looking at Wilson maybe. Newcastle. I like the look of Newcastle on the weekend. He had a lot of chances. He missed some sitters as well.
Should have had a hat trick.
So definitely. I'm liking him. I'm liking Bamford because Bamford's quite consistent, isn't he? So not too sure. It's just going to be horrible getting rid of Kane. But it's got to be done if he's going to miss these next 3. So not a great week. But I think I didn't lose a huge amount of ground in terms of mini leagues and stuff. But I did go out of the cup, which was a shame. I did win, and if it was the initial 11 versus 11, I was looking quite good. But then Bamford come off his bench and and killed me. So that was a nightmare. So out of the cup, but onwards and upwards. See how we go this week. I think you had the same as well. I think Ollie, we both had Mitchell and Palace get a clean sheet, and then Mitchell doesn't actually play. So that was a bit of a pain because I had him as my first sub in case Kane obviously didn't play. So not the best week, but I think I've beat the average, so I'll take that.
Yeah, as you should. I mean, it's a little bit of solace from what was otherwise, it's a disappointing to lose in the cup. It was a decent run to, I think, was it round 5 that you got knocked out in? But there's always next year, as they say. We'll move along to Jack, who obviously won't be here to discuss his team. Make sure we have the right game week up, and it's much the same almost to last game week. He had 47 last game week and had 46 on this one, which was below the average. Elliot, I'll start with you to throw this one over to him. Obviously missed captain choice, which is a bit frustrating, but it's a poor week from Jack, for being honest.
Yeah, I think a lot of people fancied Gundogan this week. I don't blame them. He's been in excellent form. But, this week, as I said, if you didn't really capitalise on Salah's score, I think you didn't get obviously you didn't get the extra 15 points, but you didn't get the ground that you'd gain in the mini leagues and stuff like that, which was a bit disappointing. But Jack's here now, so I'll hand
he's
back
back.
over to him and he can dissect his own squad.
I hope you were saying all good things there, boys.
Yeah, of course, mate.
Oh, you're on my team as well. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I've had a nightmare, lads. I've had an absolute nightmare. Not a good week, not a good January. After some great form in December, climbed up everything, the ladders. And I've been left with this. My midfield, apart from Salah hitting this morning, has been an absolute joke. In a nutshell. I presume you boys were saying that as well. But in terms of my team, you guys got it right in there. I brought Gundogan in this week instead of Barnes. I was going to do the Barnes curveball captain as per the guru recommendations, but
mate,
bottled it last minute. Went for the safe option with Gundogan. I put the captain's armband on him, and I was speaking to one of my friends who's in our FPL league, Chris Reed. I was telling him about Salah. He's got 7 in 7 against West Ham, 7 in 7 and 2 assists. I think he's had in his last 7 appearances. I thought, better captain Salah, and then didn't get round to it. Kept Gundogan, and then who do I see? I see Ollie Walker-Peel and Elliot Craig both captain Salah. Sick to my stomach this morning.
Masters against the apprentice, eh?
Oh my goodness! I think you two are just working together. That's all. Keep not giving me not sharing the info. So yeah, it didn't go great.
Last time I shared info, you took it and it didn't work for you, so I don't blame you.
That was the Zaha Grealish debacle, wasn't it? Was that?
Yeah, I think it was a bit of that, and there was McCarthy and Martinez as well, wasn't it?
Yes,
which I did myself this week. I went McCarthy. Like Southampton should have got something out of that game.
Yeah.
Against Villa, it shouldn't have happened that way. But Martinez obviously came out on top, so I left 7 points on the bench with the difference between Martinez and McCarthy. So that kept me below the average. And obviously, Dom Calvert-Lewin. Oh my goodness, just don't even know where to start with him.
Cavani could have had a couple though, Jack. That was really unlucky.
Yeah, I was whinging about that this morning as well. Just looking at my team, going, Cavani could have won that game for United for us, and we should have won. He was like 5-6 yards away. He should have slotted it. He could have had a couple, like you said. And obviously, yeah, just infuriating like many fantasy managers out there. So Rob Holding was my second best player this week.
That says something, doesn't it? I mean, Rob Holding's been all right. He's been okay this season, hasn't he?
Really good.
I mean, I've had him in my team for an extended period of time, or a little period of time, so he's not been too bad. So you've not had a great week, Jack, if we're being quite honest with you. One person who has had a good week, though, is Morgan Hanley, who once again, after snubbing us in the guest section, it might be a good decision for him because he's done really well again. He's nearly managed to raise the bat.
Wow.
Just inside the top 5,000 in the game week. He's done absolutely brilliantly, obviously. Martinez, Bamford, Wilson, nailed the Salah captain shout. Did he get lucky? He got slightly lucky with the Dallas, and Creswell did okay as well. But other than that, he's had a brilliant week. He's up inside the top 25,000 for the overall rank, and he's moved up in the Esports Live and FPL Addicts mini league as well. So he's moved up quite a fair way, I think, as a result this week. He's up to 3rd. So he's done really well as Morgan Hanley this week, and he'll receive a $10 live Esports Live voucher rather for cash pool and prizes you can play for on FIFA, Rocket League, PES, and NBA. I've stuffed up the promo. I do apologise, Jack, but there you go. It's the same message every week. Hopefully you've been listening, so hopefully Morgan knows what he's in for. But if you think you can hack it, see if you can join him in some of these competitions. They're running thick and fast now, so get yourself involved.
I'd love to know, Ollie, what team he started with those teams going out. Can you look at that?
You can find that. We'll bring that up, actually. Hopefully this works, because obviously you've got to go back 20 times. So hopefully I can just change the URL and it works. I think it might. Yes, it does. So this is the team. He got 78 points in game week 1, and that's how he started.
No, I think he means at the start of the game week.
No, he's starting lineup.
Yeah.
He must have
I think-
wildcarded then.
Quite possibly. I thought you meant the start of the season, so
You remember
apologies.
before the auto subs, I think.
Before the
Yeah.
auto subs, if he
Yeah, so-
started Cancelo and Chilwell, and then
Yeah, I reckon he would have.
he did.
You-
He did.
You'd like to hope so.
He
Yeah,
did.
me too.
Yep, it says at the bottom, player in
Yeah.
Cresswell
Oh,
and
yeah,
Dallas for Cancelo and Chilwell. So that's what
I did mention that, but okay,
yeah.
that's all good.
Oh, the
But
just
11
my apologies. I didn't know you mentioned that. My
No,
apologies,
that's
mate.
all right.
Sorry.
That's all good. That's all good. But 11 points off
the
his
Burnley
bench. So
fan as well.
yeah, I said that. I
Goodness.
said
Yeah.
that. He's a good FPL manager, but he supports a shocking club. Shocking club.
Good bit of education for managers out there. If you didn't know, if you scroll to the bottom of the page, it tells you who's in and who's out.
That's,
Yeah,
that's why
it
you said
does.
it, just so we could teach people. That's why
Yeah.
it was done.
There you go.
The
There you
gift
go.
that
The
keeps
more you
giving.
know. The more you know. Maybe I'm the FPL teacher, teaching people how to navigate the website rather than alongside the FPL guru. We'll get onto his section in a moment, but before we do, we've got Peely's Puzzler Part 2. As this guy had two spells at Tottenham, Matt should really be getting this one. So this player had a spell at Manchester United, sandwiched in between two spells at Tottenham Hotspur, and he won the Premier League 3 times. So there's your clues.
Not
Um,
Tottenham, surely can win the league.
I've got
He
it.
wa-
I know it.
He would
Yeah,
have
got it.
he would have won the Premier League 3 times at Manchester United, but Jack and Matt both think they've got it. Have you out there? We'll have to wait and see. So the answer will be revealed on next week's podcast. So now, Matt, over to you. We've got your guru section. We've got your form players, your differentials, your clubs to watch, and you've got your captain picks for the next game week. So, Matt, floor's yours.
Thanks, Ollie. And I've definitely got a good idea as to who that Peely's puzzler is, but I'll leave that for everyone else to solve. But yeah, going with the guru section, we'll go to our form players. A couple this week. Pereira from West Brom. I did put him down as a differential last week. He's come out with a 13-point week, which is absolutely brilliant for those that transferred him in. So he's got a good fixture this week as well. Another form player of mine, I know it was your transfer, Ollie, Harvey Barnes, 6 returns in 7 now, and he was the careful captain, really, really in form at the moment. So that's my 2 form players. We'll move on now to the differentials. Going to start with Edison, 8.1%, so he's still below that 10% ownership. Burnley away. So if you need a keeper who's just consistently keeping clean sheets, you've got a bit more money to spare. Edison's not a bad shout. If you're on a wild card this week, not a bad goalkeeper to have. I believe he's in Ollie's team as well. So I think he's got Ollie quite a few points, so he can vouch for that.
He's been brilliant for me as Edison. Brought him in. I think he's kept a clean sheet every single week I've had him. But I left Sanchez on the bench, so I left 3 points on the bench this morning. But other than that, he's been absolutely brilliant for me as Edison.
Yeah, he's I think he's the one that's safest from Pep Roulette, isn't he? So really good goalkeeper to have. So if you're on that wild card, 8.1% ownership, you'd think he'd get a clean sheet away at Burnley. I'm going to go with another City player as well as a differential for this game week. Mahrez. I know he's very in and out the side, but he was rested on the weekend, and he got a double-digit score in the game week before. So I do feel like Pep's going to play him in this one away at Burnley. It does like to. He's a bit of a bully against these smaller sides. I think he did score in the home leg as well. Was it Burnley? He got the hat trick in, lads. It was, wasn't it?
It was. Yes, it was.
It was. Yeah. So in the reverse fixture, he got a hat trick. He's 3.6% owned. So really, really good one. I would say though, if you get him in, it's probably someone that you don't want to hold on to for too long because he is very in and out of that side. The third one, this is definitely a differential. It's a bit of a controversial one because he's not scored a huge amount of goals, and it's going to be Roberto Firmino, 7.5% owned. Home to Brighton. I know Brighton have had a few good results lately, but 7.5%. He's got 2 returns in the last 2. He's getting in the goal scoring positions again. He's getting the assists. Someone a bit different. Really, really low ownership. So he's one that I've got listed down as a potential one that can get you above your mates in the mini leagues. My fourth one, so this week I found really tough with the differentials. There's a lot of very, very close fixtures. And this one, I think, Elliot, you'll be very, very happy to see. It's going to be St Maximum in 2.4% ownership. Home to Palace. There was just something about Newcastle, which I've not said in months, to be honest. I did really like on the weekend. And, he come on, I think it was the last, 20 minutes and did that little Maradona roll. And, yeah, we had a little discussion about him in the group chat, and he's someone that looks good on the eye. Doesn't really get too much in terms of FPL points, but when he does have when he's on it and he scores, he tends to sort of get a golden assist. So yeah, I think. What do you think on that one, Elliot? Just obviously you're the Newcastle fan. Do you think that's a little bit above board, or potentially a good shout?
Well, I was obviously I'm a massive fan of him. He's clearly our most pleasing player to watch, I'd say. Definitely, he's the one with a little bit of magic that can change a football match. As you said, doesn't always get the most out of fantasy points. He got the pre-assist for our second goal, as people call it these days, which was good. But no, I don't mind it. I'm hoping he starts against Palace. He obviously came back from what they were calling long-term COVID, so he's been suffering with that for a while, but he's come off the bench 3 matches in a row now, so I'm hoping he's match fit maybe to play the first 60-70 minutes against Palace and then maybe get subbed off. But I don't mind it at all, because I think Palace's defence can be weak at times, and if he can really get at them, then I don't see why he can't grab a goal or an assist for himself, mate. So I'm a big fan of that choice.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one, because there's a saying on the FPL community at the moment about the eye test, and he's someone that does look really good on the eye when you watch him play. And Rafinha at Leeds is a very similar player, and he's started to get some returns lately. So I'm hoping the same for St Maximin this weekend. My last differential, and this is a big differential, 0.7% ownership, and it's Iosi Perez from Leicester. It looks like he's taken up that centre forwards position since Vardy's been injured. Looks like the red flag's still on Vardy for this week, so you'd expect Perez to come in and start. Hasn't had the best stats, but low ownership. If you're really looking for a striker to replace Kane, and you don't want to go with the template of DCL, Bamford, Wilson, or your Watkins, and you want to get a Leicester player in, not a bad shout, 0.7%. So that wraps up the differentials for this week. So moving on, we'll go with the 3 teams, and one of them I think is quite obvious. Manchester City away to Burnley. Is a tough game, but Burnley, they had some good results over the last month or so. But you would expect Man City to go there and turn it on and win. My second team out of the 3 is going to be Liverpool, home to Brighton. Obviously, Brighton have had some good results lately, but it's Liverpool. There's a couple of good results in a row for them too. And then my last one, I was actually looking at, and again, this is probably going to surprise callers, everyone. Sorry, listening in. I was looking at Newcastle this week at home to Palace, but I just didn't have it in me to put a Steve Bruce side in there just yet. So I've ended up going with Leicester away at Fulham. I think again, I've looked at the table, and with Leicester being in that top 4, Fulham still being in the bottom 3, had to go for Leicester there. So that's my 3 teams. So we'll move on now to the captains this week. I don't think there's too many surprises with the number 1 choice, and that's Mo Salah. Another one who I talk about most weeks is Sterling, but he got a rest on the weekend. I think he'll start this week against Burnley. So definitely a captain shout. Jack Grealish, home game as well. Seems to just be getting an assist every week. Seems to be a shoo-in for a goal and an assist, or at least one of the 2 at home. Home fixture to West Ham. And then my last captain choice is Callum Wilson. So sticking on the Newcastle theme, he just was getting in front of goal numerous times against Everton, and I think we were sort of talking about this earlier as well amongst ourselves. He probably could have had a hat trick. I know he got 2. He definitely could have sealed it with 3. Could have even had 4. There was numerous chances, and I really liked what I saw of Wilson. So, not a bad captain shout. So, we'll move on to the curveball, and the curveball is going to have to be Pereira from West Brom. Just come off 13 points. Sheffield United away. Tough game. Sheffield United are quite tight, still quite tight at the back. They did only let 1 in against City. but Pereira's on the set pieces. He's on the penalties. If he's in your team and you don't want to go the templates of Salah and Sterling, he's he's not a bad option to have.
Definitely not. As in a differential between that, obviously Mateus Pereira scored again. He was a great player in the Championship last season for the Baggies. But trying to go back to some of the shouts that you've had that in previous sections, I want to have a look at Mahrez in your form players. Riyad Mahrez obviously scored a hat-trick, we know, last time against Burnley. If it happens to be Pep Roulette that triumphs and Mahrez isn't selected, is there another Manchester City asset that you think might well take your fancy with the armband or not?
Yeah, it's a tough one with City. I think the the Pep Roulette thing's a big topic right now. There's just so many games, so it's really hard to judge. But yeah, tough call. I'd like to say Gabriel Jesus potentially, but again, is he going to start? It's just such a very, very tough call, Ollie. Foden, nah. You know what? I think for me, Mahrez, Sterling, and yeah, that's. I'd like to say my man Gundogan, but I don't know if he'll play this week. I feel like they might drop him as well. So you know what? I'm going to go with Cancelo. I think to answer your question, Ollie, I'm going to go with Cancelo. The defender was rested over the weekend. I think he'll get the start against Burnley, and he seems to get forward a lot. He gets shots on goal, and he's pretty much like a midfielder in fantasy in the way that he plays. So yeah, I'm going to go with Cancelo.
And just one more quick one, this time on your real massive differential here. I want to throw this one to both of you, both to Matt and to Elliot. I'm on about Jose Perez, obviously the former Newcastle player. It's a bit of an interesting one. He's really come out of nowhere. So do you reckon he's a long-term option, potentially, if Jamie Vardy's out? And to Elliot, the question I want to ask you is, do you support the shout? Obviously, are you a fan of Jose Perez still since he left, or is he in your bad books?
No, mate, I absolutely don't blame him for when he left. We were in a rubbish spot. Rafa Benitez left, and they were very close. Obviously, they had the Spanish connection. Was brilliant for us. He never did a foot wrong a lot of the time. After January, me and you always used to joke that he'd turn into Pele after that second half of the season. He really used to turn it on in the late halves. But I think he's only got one goal this season, so I think it obviously is an interesting one. But with the supply that Leicester have got with Maddison, Barnes, Albrighton, if you're playing up top, you're bound to get chances at least. So I do support the Jose Perez call if he's wrapped up that centre forward position for now, definitely.
And Matt, to you on that one?
Yeah, look, I think in terms of long term, it will just be pending the Vardy news. If Vardy's going to be out, so they think he's going to be out for another sort of few weeks, 4, 5, 6 weeks, then I'll definitely be looking at him. The only problem is it will take up a midfielder spot. So although he's playing in that striker role, he does classify as midfielder, which can be a good and a bad thing. A good thing is you're getting more points if he does score. Obviously, the bad news is you're going to have to lose a midfielder spot. So yeah, I think if we get Vardy news and we hear that he is going to be out for a long part of the season, then I'll definitely look at him. But yeah, if we don't get that news, I'd probably say just have him for the game week or the next 2 game weeks, and then get rid. So yeah, it will all depend on this Vardy news.
Brilliant stuff, Matt. And I just want to move on now to your Scout 11, if we can bring that up. Obviously, your Scout 11s, you're almost just known for that now. It's the pride and joy of your Guru section every week. And this is the team we've got at the minute. We've got Edison in goal, Robertson, Dallas, Stones, and Alexander-Arnold in the back 4. 2 banks of 4s. We've got Maddison, Salah, Sterling, and Mateus Pereira in midfield behind Callum Wilson and Ollie Watkins. I want to talk about that strike partnership between Ollie Watkins and Callum Wilson. Both incredible strikers. Both got very enticing home games. Was it an easy selection picking those two?
Yeah, look, Wilson, home game against Palace, he's just come off 13 points. So, yeah, got to throw him in. I think he's a penalty taker as well, isn't he, Elliot? So, got to put him in there. Even if it is Bruce and Newcastle, they were a lot more attacking on the weekend. So, I think they're going to start going for games a bit more than what we saw before. Watkins, just every time I watch him, he just gets in goal scoring positions. And he's someone, we might blank for 3 games, 2 games, and then he would just come out and get 13 points out of nowhere. So yeah, liking both of them. And Watkins is getting a really good service from Barkley and Grealish now. So yeah, they're 2 that I'm really liking. And then going into the midfield, Pereira, I think, speaks for itself after his last couple of weeks. Absolutely brilliant. 13 points last week. Then he had that 24 points in the double game week. So yeah, he's flying. Sterling is going in there this week. I think after his rest, he's going to get minutes against Burnley. Salah, got him there on the captain. I think I do get a bit worried with these midweek games though, in case Klopp decides he doesn't want to give Salah a run. He can sometimes drop some of the big guns. So it does worry me a bit, but I've got to put the armband on him there. Maddison away at Fulham. It was between him and Barnes. I went Barnes last week in the Guru 11, and as the curveball captain. But I think this week I'll pick Maddison. And then defence, double up on Liverpool. I think their fullbacks are just Alexander-Arnold's been bombing forward again in the last 2 games. Robertson as well. They seem to just have got it back together, I think, Liverpool. So I'm liking both of them. Dallas, not sure if they'll keep a clean sheet, but like you boys mentioned earlier, he was pretty much playing in a central midfield, attacker midfielder role yesterday, which was pretty good. So if you own him, definitely worth keeping hold. And then Stones and Edison, I think they're the safest in that City defence this week. I would normally go with Diaz, but I think Stones getting the rest. They might drop Diaz this week, considering they got Liverpool on the weekend as well. So yeah, that's the Guru 11 for this week.
Yeah, I'm not sure about John Stones. Don't be saying he'll be getting dropped, or else my FPL week would really be in tatters. But yeah, that'll be an interesting one if we look forwards. That Manchester City Liverpool game in a couple of weeks, we might have to rethink some of those Manchester City defenders that people have been bringing in.
Yeah, that's what I've been looking at, because I wildcarded when you did on that double game week with the City defenders, knowing that they had this nice little fixture on. But yeah, once they get Liverpool at Anfield, it's a game that they're quite notorious for letting in goals, aren't they? I don't think they've got a good record at Anfield at all. So it's a bit of a worry. And then I think they got my side Spurs after. So with our form, it's probably not going to be too much of a worry. And then Arsenal away after. They've got a few, and then West Ham, a few games you'd think they might concede in. So yeah, we might see a change on that double up. So yeah, let's wait and see.
Yeah, that's a few interesting fixtures right in a run there. Those 3 will put a bit of fear into FPL managers' minds, but hopefully you can navigate your way through it. One more before we move on. Matheus Pereira, talk of the town at the minute. Obviously, as we've said, decent Championship player. Now showing his worth in the Premier League. Obviously, really low ownership. Do you expect that he might be one in the shop window? People might be buying him a bit more now?
Yeah, I think so. I think if you don't own Souček, and you've got that kind of, I think he's about 6, isn't he, Pereira? He's just around that 6 million mark, just above that. So, yeah, if you don't have that, I think a lot of people have Souček taking up that extra space in their squads, or maybe Gundogan at the moment, or Saka from Arsenal, because those 3 have kind of been the cheap budget midfielders. So if you don't have one of them, and you've kind of got that extra space as a midfielder, then Pereira is not a bad one to bring in, I think. Yeah, good fixture for this one. Yeah, set pieces and pens, and yeah, seems to be everywhere at the minute. So yeah, really liking him.
Yeah, just before we move on, Matt, we've got your YouTube channel, which we haven't really mentioned a whole lot on this show. I didn't even realize you had it up until a couple of weeks ago, because we haven't really talked about it too much. But 6 subscribers, that's a figure that needs to be improved, if we're being honest. He posts a lot of stuff up there, the clips of the podcast. Mostly it's just the full podcast, but yeah, definitely go and subscribe over there. There's sometimes also a few guru sections, just guru sections on there as well. So go and check that and subscribe. It's Matty Day, the FPL Guru, on YouTube. So go and give that a watch. Thanks again for your guru section, Matt. Top work. So now moving on to draft for the week, and we'll run over the results for game week 21 and a couple of heavyweights, or in my case now basically a lightweight. Not great weeks for some of us here. Rolando beating Jack was the upset of the week by 9 points. Everyone would have beaten Jack, and Rolando took advantage of a poor week by the the draft guru, to take all 3 points. David lost to Elliot, so his rise up the league has been stunted somewhat by a good win for Elliot. I got absolutely smashed by James, so the less we talk about that, probably the better. But a good win for James, 23 points. It's pretty handy that in draft. And Matt, you survived a close one against the Mac lads, 12 points, but 3 points is 3 points nonetheless. If we have a look what that's done to the table, I'm still in 4th, but top of the league is still Jack, despite his defeats to Orlando. Matt is up to 2nd, Dave down to 3rd, I'm in 4th, as I said. James moved up to 5th, Elliot in 6th, Nathan in 7th, and Rolando in 8th. The fixtures, and we've got the Draft Classico back in Game Week 22 between Jack and Matt. That's the fixture of the week for sure. We've got a bit of a family clash between myself and my dad. We've got James and David, and also Elliot plays Rolando, but we'll get straight into it. No debate on what the match of the weekend is. It's James and Jack and Matt rather, and 22 points. What are you going to do to change this, Jack? Because something needs to be changed if you want to win this game.
Yeah, I was just mentioning then, Ollie, I could do with a wild card to freshen things up.
Yes.
With Saka being out as well, it's a bit difficult. However, I do have a bit of a fixture clash with West Ham, Aston Villa. So I'm going to be struggling around that. I think Grealish is going to be coming into form big time. Well, he's in form anyway, but I think he's going to be a big property in the next couple of weeks. So I'm great to have him, but I've got the Spurs boys on the bench because they're out injured. Chilwell, don't even know if he's going to get in the team now after Alonso's rocket the other night. So I don't even know what to do with him. And Martial and Antonio. Martial can't score for the life of him, and Antonio, can Aston Villa deal with him? Maybe, probably. So yeah, I'm going to be, don't know, I'm a bit stuck for this one, and it's going to be, if I lose this one, it's going to put the guru on top level points.
Yeah, obviously you've got a few issues there. Obviously you've only got Cresswell and Grealish who actually contributed this week. You had a lot of players on 1 point. You had Justin, Digne, Saka didn't contribute anything because of his injury. Ward-Prowse, Martial. So you need to sort something out. There's a lot of issues. Do you reckon you'll be going to the transaction table to try and do that?
I don't think there's much out on the scene either. There hasn't been all season. Everyone's it's pretty tough to get hold of these available players. But yeah, might just have to just play through the pain and then come back on the next one. I think could be a difficult one.
It may well be. Matt, we'll move over to you now on a better week, although it wasn't too hard to have a better score than Jack this week in draft. 37 points. So obviously you've had a little bit more success. Obviously having Mohamed Salah obviously helps that, to be honest. But yeah, do you reckon you've got enough to win this week? Obviously, surely you'd say yes, but do you reckon where do you think that might come from?
Yeah, look, normally I've not backed myself too much in draft this season, but I feel like this is the best time to play Jack. And also I'm quite big on draft of teams I've had good form against before, and I think I've beat Jack both times. So I'm confident with Salah. Yeah, the City assets look good, but there's that rotation.
Yeah, Bernardo's got to get rotated, surely.
Yeah, I've got a good feeling about Pogba and Cavani. I feel like one of them's due a goal or assist or something like that. I've got Rafinha who'll be coming on. I've got Stones nice and rested, who hopefully should come on. So I think I've got about enough to beat him. I'm going to have to probably look in the transaction somewhere to replace that Castagna from Leicester, because I think he's done his hamstring again. So yeah, it'll be a tough one. It'll be a tough one, but I think I've got enough. I think Salah could be the big one. If Kane and Reguilon were fit, then I'd be a bit more worried. But they're not, and which is unfortunate. But for this game, it's it's good for this draft game. So yeah, I think I've got enough on the pitch at the moment. But who knows? I might be making a couple of changes. We'll just have to wait and see. And it would be nice to win as well. Sorry, Jack, because I think you were about 9 points clear of me a few weeks back. So it could be a bit of a comeback. But
a couple of losses on the bounce I've had, mate. Yeah. So,
but it can change so quickly in draft. So
it's the season of surrendering leads at the top. I know that all too well.
Yeah.
League's not been the same since you won it in November, December, Ollie. So.
No, the trophy's still getting delivered. I don't know where it's gone.
I think you've lost it to Jack on that, mate.
Give me 50 quid and I'll $50 and I'll release him. That's talking about Harry Kane. There's a bit of banter between Elliot and Jack in the private chat here. Elliot, is that something you're up for, releasing Harry Kane?
Oh, I'd have him for free, mate, but I don't think I'm going to be spending. Don't think I'm going to be
I'll tell
spending
you one thing about releasing players. Sorry, is Ollie managed to pick up Vardy from I think Statman Dave released Vardy, and I couldn't believe it, because Vardy might, obviously we were discussing it earlier about Perez Vardy, but they're saying Vardy's probably only got maybe another 1 to 2 weeks out, and I didn't get on it quick enough and realise Vardy was up for grabs, and Ollie's managed to get him, and Leicester have an absolute brilliant set of fixtures in the next few months. That's just that signing could potentially win Ollie the league when you think he's still got De Bruyne to come back in. And Pereira, I could not believe it. I could not believe it when I saw that.
Well done, Statman.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. We're in the league.
We're in the league. And the other player I've got as well, by the way, who I brought in the other week, was Mateus Pereira. So a little bit of success at the transfer table. But in an effort to keep this one under an hour so we can upload it to Instagram TV, we're going to quickly ask the panel for their opinion on this game. Jack, we'll start with you. You should be backing yourself in, surely, even after your poor game this week.
I'm going to put all the pressure on the Guru. I'm going to say the Guru.
Oh, I like the mind games. I like the mind games. We're flashing back a few years. It's like we've got Jose and Arsene Wenger here. We're flashing back, and I love to see it. Elliot, you're a neutral, obviously, like myself in this one. Who do you think is going to win?
I'm going to help Jack, and I'm going to pile the more pressure onto Matt, mate.
I'm going to do the exact same. Matt, you better not lose after we've all given our prediction for you to take the 3 points. Are you going to back yourself in to win this one?
I think I've got to. Jack's form. The thing is, though, it's not January anymore, so
just think of me like Callum Wilson, mate. And Newcastle.
You know what? I'll back myself. I think Salah, if he plays against Brighton and he comes out with another couple of goals, then that could get me over the line, along with maybe John Stones, potentially coming out with hopefully another couple of goals against Burnley or something. John Stones likes his big scores in
I can't
FPL,
wait to see John Stones not even on the squad. He's not even going to make the bench. You're getting everyone overhyped.
I hope not.
All right, well, that ends the draft section for another week, and so ends the podcast for another week. It's been a decent one, but Elliot, just to finish off, you've had a really decent week, despite what I said before. Hoping for another one?
Yeah, fingers crossed in terms of fantasy and Newcastle, mate, for another good week. 3 more points in both draft and in real life would be awesome, and then score above the average just to keep ticking over would be ideal, but we don't live in an ideal world, so I'm sure that won't come true, but we can be optimistic, mate, so fingers crossed.
Well, if that doesn't come true, I hope all your FPL dreams do out there. Take care, stay safe,